It is Saturday, May 3rd, and President Trump days away from stepping away completely from the Ukraine-Russia war. Trump letting it be known, you have just days to decide if you both want to end this war or not. We're going to show you also accountability coming to the swamp of Washington, D.C. A new report revealing a very prominent Democrat has been getting funded, apparently, by a foreign country, and the receipts are there to prove it. Email exchanges on government servers showing the lengths to which this person is bought and paid for. Wait till you see this. And justice arriving for the family of Ashley Babbitt. The Trump administration confirming they reached a settlement with Ashley Babbitt's family, the unarmed woman who was killed on J6, the only person who died on that day, a combat veteran, a Trump supporter, and more stories as well from around the country. But before we get started, thank you for liking and sharing these videos. It really helps out the channel. And consider subscribing so you don't miss these regular updates. So last month, to the day, exactly 1 month ago, President Trump said the U.S. will be walking away completely from the Ukraine-Russia war effort. He made the announcement on Truth Social last month, and 2 weeks ago, he reiterated it during a press conference, threatening Zelensky, if you don't get on board, we are walking. The U.S. will walk, forcing Zelensky to stop playing games. Come to the negotiating table, either follow our lead, or you can go at it yourself. Watch how well that goes for you. This was 2 weeks ago. Watch.
Now, if for some reason one of the two parties makes it very difficult, we're just going to say you're foolish, you're fools, you're horrible people, and we're going to just take a pass. But hopefully we won't have to do that. And Marco is right in saying that we want to see it end. Think of it. Every day, a lot of people are being killed as we talk about, as they play games. So we're not going to take that, and we'll see. I think we have a good chance of solving the problem, however.
Trump holding all the cards in this relationship for weeks. The administration's been squeezing Zelensky to get on board. First step was to get him to sign the new rare earth minerals deal, which he did. The first smart thing that Zelensky's done. Now, if this war does continue, at least we're not going to be funding it. Ukraine will be paying for it themselves, paying for the weapons and the aid via their rare earth minerals and petrochemicals, which the U.S. now has first priority rights to. The goal, however, is to get this settled. If peace is achieved, that means huge upside for both the U.S. and Ukraine, as this deal guarantees U.S. companies will be contracted for the country's rebuild. Russia, very unhappy with Zelensky coming on board. The Kremlin reacting to this deal, this new minerals deal, releasing this statement saying Trump has broken the Kyiv regime to the point where they will have to pay for U.S. aid with mineral resources. Now they'll have to pay for military supplies with the national wealth of a disappearing country. Russia signaling Ukraine may be on board, but they are not, ramping up their bombing campaign significantly since the deal signing on Thursday. Yesterday, multiple Trump administration officials announcing they're going to be walking away, giving Vladimir Putin one more chance to get this thing settled. We're hearing Trump is about to make a decision, either coming later today, tomorrow, or Monday, that he'll be walking away entirely from this mess that the Biden administration created. This is Putin's last chance to make a deal. Lock in your gains, Vladimir. Get huge sanctions relief now while you can, or keep fighting. Keep losing thousands of Russian soldiers every single day. Roll the tape.
Scaling back its role as a direct mediator in the peace talks between Ukraine and Russia for the time being. All of this after Russia's President Putin rejected a ceasefire proposal. All right, so Tammy Bruce is here. She's the State Department spokesperson. Tammy, thanks for joining us. So what is happening here, and what is going to happen?
Well, let me correct you there on one dynamic. What the Secretary has said repeatedly, and what I've also said, and the President has said, is that if there is no progress, if there isn't a genuine dynamic of a concrete resolution and solution to this conflict, then our role would change. Some outlets reported it as an abandonment of Ukraine or an abandonment of the process. That is not true. If that were to occur, and this is, of course, up to the President and the Secretary of State, if we do not now see progress, which is in the hands of the parties, Ukraine and Russia, then our role would take a different posture, which is right now, of course, we're the mediator, and we've been running around the world at the drop of a hat for good reason. This is about ending the carnage of that obscene debacle that unfolds in this dynamic. But if there is no progress between the two parties, then we would step back as a mediator in this framework. It doesn't mean we are abandoning the desire for the ceasefire or doing what we can to help assist that framework or an end to the conflict in general. But the fact is, as the Secretary has noted very distinctly, including on your network and others, is that, look, in NATO, he said it would be a matter of weeks where we would determine if Russia was serious, because we're going to take them not at their word, but by their actions. Mm-hmm. And a few days ago, he said it would be a matter of days. So right now, our posture is the same. But if there is no progress, it would change. Mm-hmm. And that change would be regarding our acting as a mediator. But we are not at that point yet. The President and the Secretary would be the deciders in that regard.
First of all, we have to give the President some credit here because there was a really big breakthrough and hasn't gotten that much coverage. But for 3 years, these sides have fought, and each of them has said, no peace, we're going to fight until the other guy's basically knocked out. What we've seen now in the last couple of weeks is each side has put down, this is our peace proposal. The Ukrainians did it, the Russians did it, and now I think the question is to see whether we can actually find some middle ground here for these guys to bring this conflict to a close.
This is the art of the deal, and it's one hard deal to make. You have two stubborn sides. Should Trump pull this off, it would be a huge achievement. The first time an American president mediating the end to a war instead of starting and fueling one for Lord knows how long. In another story, D.C.'s leftist mayor, Muriel Bowser, finding herself in some hot water after a new report uncovering that she appears to have been secretly funded by the nation of Qatar, paying her for years in the form of gifts and luxury trips, travel expenses, all uncovered, get this, by way of emails she failed to correctly delete from government servers. You can't make this up. The same woman who accused Trump of being a Russian asset, the same person who said Trump was being paid by Putin, all untrue, obviously. But it turns out she may be the foreign agent after all. And all of this, she not only lied about, but has since been trying to cover up. Watch this.
Who is paying for D.C. Mayor Muriel Bowser's trips around the world? We've been asking that question for months now and have gotten different answers from the mayor's office.
Now, I-Team reporter Scott Taylor has uncovered the nation of Qatar paid for the mayor and 4 staff members to travel to its country. This was in 2023. Scott, what else are we learning about where this money came from?
Well, we're talking about a lot of money, Michelle, almost $62,000. We discovered that from a letter from the Embassy of Qatar to the mayor's office. The mayor's office told us twice who paid for the trip, and both times what they said just wasn't true. D.C. tells 7 News it doesn't have any travel expense records filed by D.C. Mayor Muriel Bowser for trips to the Masters Golf Tournament, Las Vegas, Dubai, Miami, or Mar-a-Lago. All trips taken within the past 3 years. In December 2023, Bowser and 4 staff members, including her chief of staff, Lindsey Parker, took a trip to Doha, Qatar. They attended the United Nations Climate Conference in Dubai. Only 2 travel expense records have been filed. Parker appears to be doing what's required by D.C. code, but it's not cheap. She cost taxpayers $3,500 for a 3-night stay at the Atlantis Palm Hotel in Dubai. A 2-night stay at the Aloft Hotel in Dubai for $1,300 was also filed by Thomas Delamonte, D.C.'s Director of Intergovernmental Affairs. Last year, Susana Castillo, the mayor's director of communications, gave 7 News wrong information twice on who paid for the Dubai trip. She claimed D.C.'s Chamber of Commerce paid for it. Not true. And then she said U.S. Conference of Mayors picked up the bill. I just discovered that is also not true. This letter from the Embassy of Qatar to the Executive Office of the Mayor says Qatar paid more than $61,000 for the entire trip and called it an in-kind donation. D.C. has no record of a donation agreement between the district and Qatar for the trip, which is required by D.C. code. Parker also flew last May to Las Vegas to attend the International Council of Shopping Centers convention along with Bowser. Parker flew first class and cost taxpayers $4,500. She stayed at the Wynn Hotel and Casino 3 nights, costing taxpayers $1,500. What about the mayor? She has filed no travel expense records for her Vegas trip, saying it was paid by Washington, D.C. Economic Partnership and 2 D.C. government departments. Well, so far, no answer from the mayor's office to our 9 questions we sent that office 6 days ago. 7 News would like to know, how can any big city mayor fly all over the world on official business and not keep clear records of who paid for it? I guess in the district, Mayor Bowser can get away with it. For the I-Team, Scott Taylor, 7 News.
And there are tons of clips of Mayor Bowser saying the most ridiculous things about President Trump, calling for Trump to be held accountable for his role in domestic terror that occurred at the Capitol. This is just one quick example of the types of things she said in the past. Watch this.
I also call on the Joint Terrorism Task Force to investigate, arrest, and prosecute any individual who entered the Capitol, destroyed property, or incited acts of domestic terrorism observed yesterday. More immediately, we know that the current president must be held accountable for this unprecedented attack on our democracy. What happened yesterday is what he wanted to happen, and we must not underestimate the damage he can do to our nation and our democracy over the next 2 weeks. And it's not just the president who must be held accountable, so too must the domestic terrorists who stormed the Capitol and threatened members of Congress.
Well, it's coming back to bite. And since we're on the subject of J6, big news coming out of Washington yesterday, the Trump administration confirming they've reached a settlement with the family of Ashley Babbitt, the unarmed woman who was shot and killed on J6, the only person who died on that day, a Trump supporter, combat veteran, unarmed, and killed by a Capitol police officer for just being in the Capitol building. The Biden administration fighting her family for 4 years, which not many people knew about, denying her family justice in their wrongful death suit. Watch what happened when Trump learned about this a few weeks ago. Watch him here promising to get this settled for her family. Watch.
I don't know if you know this, but the Department of Justice right now is still kind of fighting that case. The family of Ashley Babbitt is suing the government, wrongful death. The DOJ right now officially is still opposing that lawsuit, trying to justify it. Shouldn't that be something that can just be settled at this point?
Well, I'll look into that. I mean, you're just telling me that for the first time. I haven't heard that. I'm a big fan of Ashley Babbitt, okay? And Ashley Babbitt was a really good person who was a big MAGA fan, Trump fan, and she was innocently standing there. They even say trying to sort of hold back the crowd. And a man did something to her that was unthinkable when he shot her. And I think it's a disgrace. I'm going to look into that. I did not know that, no.
And the officer who shot her, Michael Byrd, is still on duty. They gave him a raise and they gave him a medal and I believe a promotion.
I think it's a disgrace.
He's a federal employee. Would you or could you do something about that?
I'm going to take a look at it. I'm going to look at that too. His reputation was, I won't even say, let's find out about his reputation, okay? We're going to find out. But I watched that and I saw that. And by the way, she was killed, but nobody else was killed.
In another story, the Trump administration will be requesting a $1+ trillion defense budget for fiscal year 2026. That's more than $150 billion increase from this year's budget. The White House announcing this yesterday morning, releasing it as their skinny budget, as they're calling it, a document that the White House put out yesterday that gives the top lines for different government offices, containing few details, though, on where exactly the money's going. $1 trillion for the military-industrial complex. We saw Trump do this during his first term, ramping up defense spending. It's been 3 months, and we haven't seen anything yet from DOGE coming out of the Pentagon. We're burning daylight here. The waste, fraud, and abuse is largest, most insidious inside the defense and biopharma industries. Why they're ramping up the budget for the Pentagon, I have no idea. Let me know in the comments if you agree with this or if you think there should be a downscaling at the Pentagon. Clean it up. Not just the Pentagon, but CIA, FBI, DOJ. We've yet to see anyone held responsible. No accountability yet at CIA or FBI. Where is Kash Patel? Something smells funny about this. So much talk about rooting out the deep state at these intel agencies and unwinding the military-industrial complex, but all we're seeing is them ramping it up. They don't need a bigger budget. The U.S. spends 96% more than Canada, for instance. Canada's annual defense budget's like $29 billion. Ours is going to be over $1 trillion next year. It's insane. All right, that wraps up this episode. Like, subscribe. We'll see you next time.